Love it.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for this evening's Village Board meeting. Today is November 18th. This meeting is now called to order, and we'll begin with the pledge. If we could all please take our seats.
Trustee Levin?
Present.
Present.
Trustee Gazzara?
Present.
Trustee Codman?
Present.
And Mayor Garrity.
Present.
We will begin this meeting with two public hearings. The first one being in the matter of the 2015 sidewalk, driveway apron, and curb assessments. Is there anyone who's come to address the board on this issue?
Please, you may step forward. And could you, for the record, let us know your name and your address? Did you have a comment for us regarding the sidewalk, driveway, and apron curb assessments?
Yeah, I got the first notice in April. I was given a choice of either having a contractor do the work, have them village do the work, and I called about a half a dozen times, or a supervisor to assess the portions of mine. I didn't think my part was needed the repair that much. Oh, actually, there were both sides of broken pieces, not on my section. So I gave them the name of the contractor. I called the contractor, and he called them. They said they were going to call him back. Never did. Then I spoke to them again, and they said they were going to get back to me. Nobody ever called. Nobody ever calls me. I tried to call the supervisor just the other day, and then he said, well, you got to call at 1 o'clock. I called at 1 o'clock. He said he was at a meeting. This was, I spoke to a Chris. I called 941-4660. No response. Shooting, the amount, and then the sidewalk where I live, it didn't need that much. There were no bumps on it. Cleaned it every winter when it's.
The village engineer is able to comment on that. Are you able to comment on that? Perhaps explain the process a little more.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, we do have a record of this gentleman calling into the office. I know we played phone tag a couple of times, but I know we also went over the assessment process in relative detail with our contract administrator in the office. The questions like this during this process are not unusual, and I will do my best to revisit it after the fact. I know we it was tough because there were some stipulations on when I can call back and not call back, and I tried to do it with subordinate staff to clarify some of the issues. But at the end of the day, there's obviously still an issue, so I already have your contact information. I know you called today, and I will try to reach out for him to see what we can resolve during this process.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. And just for the record, I think the assessment, just so we can all be clear, you know, when we went and assessed that entire swath from Linden all the way to Prospect, it was not inclusive of curb work nor ADA compliance. It was inclusive of the sidewalks that fronted the private parcels, and any ancillary work associated with that was not assessed but the slabs themselves are accessible, and we did just that. If the condition was not perfectly, didn't have perfect continuity with the sidewalk to be installed or some of the retaining walls that were often the case in that swath.
Thank you.
But I will reach out for the resident, and we'll go from there.
Very good. Thank you for following up. Are you comfortable with following up with the engineer's office tomorrow? I know that you've had some challenges in communicating, but I'm sure that,
They're going to contact me?
yes, they're going to follow up with you tomorrow.
All right,
Thank you very much for coming.
thank you.
Is there anyone else who's come to address the board on this matter? Not seeing anyone, may I have a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved. Second.
On the board, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have our next public hearing, which is in the matter of the tentative 2016 budget. There will be a 4-minute time limit for anyone who would like to address the budget. But prior to that, Manager Zambrano, are you going to do your...
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Do you have the handheld mic? That would be great if you have it. It would just... Do we want to go around and watch it?
Yeah, shouldn't we?
Oh, we have it on our, I have it on my device here, but
That's the one.
Okay, all right.
I guess.
Hard copy?
Yeah, maybe you can give it to Rika. Yeah.
I have a hard copy.
I have it on my.
Okay, here you go.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, Abe, can you just turn the light for a minute? Because I can't, I'm sorry. There you go. Oh, you have the mic, okay, thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor Garrity, trustees, Codman, Levin, and Quesada. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this to the board and to the community tonight. As you know, New York State law requires that the elected body of a municipality hold a public hearing on the proposed budget annually to give the public an opportunity to voice their opinions and concerns. The proposed budget was filed with the village clerk on November the 4th. I would like to start by stating that in presenting the 2016 budget early this year, in preparing rather the budget for 2016, department heads were directed to work with the corresponding budgets in order for them to be able to submit budgets that will help us meet the requirements of the property tax cap law for the individual departments. After they submitted the budgets, we met individually and made appropriate cuts. Before I present the number, though, I just want some more other information that I would like to present to you. As you know, the property tax levy legislation requires that for fiscal years beginning 2015, municipalities also take into account the recently enacted tax freeze law, which limits the tax levy growth, as previously stated, to requiring municipalities to develop an efficiency plan that demonstrates savings of at least 1% of the 2014 tax levy. The plan was filed early this year in conjunction with the town of Ossining, and it has been approved. What I also want to mention is that this is the fifth year of the 2016, 2016 is the fifth year of the property tax levy that's in effect, and although it started as a 2% tax cap, it is now, for 2016, is only 0.73% of the previous year's tax levy. But more importantly, I think what in Ossining's case is that we have been able to calculate an additional growth that the state is allowing us to do. So for 2016, 21,697,000 is what was approved by the state. And as we go through the numbers, you will see what we have proposed. Let me just go through the numbers. The total appropriations for 2016 in comparison to 2014, they actually they were $29,000 less than what was filed in 2015. So we were able to reduce expenditures for the upcoming year. Also, the non-tax revenues went from $13,145,000 to $12,680,000, and that was a considerable difference between what was last year to this year. The bulk of the reduction in those non-tax revenues is actually mostly attributed to the reduction in the IMA payments from the town of Ossining for the police services. Again, that's just how the IMA was framed, and moving forward, I think that we will see in 2017 and 18 there are increases from the 2016 numbers. The first year included some additional overtime that was included in the IMA because of the training of the new officers that were hired because of the IMA. So all in all, the tax levy is $21,620,000, which is actually below what the state is allowing us to do. Another thing that I actually have prepared also a graph just to show you the percentages from 2013, 2014. For 2016, 35% of the total revenues for the village are non-tax revenues, which includes again all the IMAs and all the revenues that are received by the various departments. As I mentioned, also the New York State, the approved tax levy increase, or I should say total, was $21,697,000, and what we're proposing is only $21,620,000. So there's a difference of $76,000 under what the cap is allowing us to do for 2016. One of the, as we go into the tax rates also, I mean, one of the things that it's important for me to point out is that in previous years, we had the taxable assessables were trending upwards. In 2016, we actually had a pretty drastic reduction in our assessables by about $850,000 or so, just to round it off. So that had a big impact on the tax rate itself, because we have the difference of in the reduction is being spread over the other property owners in the village. So hopefully, I think in years to come, as the town concludes the reassessment or the reval of the properties, I think that may be something that will be affected, and perhaps we can see something, just things leveling off in the future. The average assessment in the village is $16,979 per household, and the average tax bill is $3,298. And again, these are estimates based on figures that the town assessor gives the village on a yearly basis. For the general fund, that was basically a summary of what's in the proposed budget. I would also like to mention that for 2016, the water fund appropriations went from $10,200,000 to $11,070,000, and again, that was a small amount of growth considering the amount of work that the water fund is going to be doing over the next several years. And then when we get to capital, I will mention the fact that there were capital projects included in the capital budget that will be affecting future years as far as debt service is concerned for each fund. And the same thing goes for the sewer fund. We grew from $1,400,000 to $1,600,000. Again, these are just expenses that are paid by the individual funds, and they get billed to the customers. I also have prepared a summary of the capital budget as it is proposed, and I've summarized pretty much by type of project as we have them right now. There's $988,000 for highway and sidewalk improvements, and there is about $230,000 of that 980 is going to be money from state aid in the form of CHIPS. I had actually asked the board to appropriate or to allow us to have an additional funding for that we can do paving throughout the village in the coming years. So we have put together a program that if the board is okay with it once it goes through, we hope to be able to do scheduled paving on a yearly basis throughout the village. In the capital budget, you also have vehicle and equipment, and again, all the details are within the actual budget document. Also public improvements in other areas, as well as the recreation and parks improvements. As we had talked to the board back a few weeks ago, there was an assessment done in many of the parks, and so the funds that we are requesting for capital projects for the parks is to be able to address some of those projects that we had discussed with you several weeks ago. We also have in the water fund about $1,975,000 in water infrastructure improvements, but this number does not include what's before the board tonight for your approval, the resolution for the engineering services for the new Indian Brook filtration plant, which we are going to be working on over the next several years. With that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Manager Zamato. That was a very helpful introduction. As much time as we've spent analyzing and reviewing the budget line by line, it's very helpful to have more of a big picture overview and put things into perspective. So it was valuable for me anyway, and imagine my colleagues as well as the public. So thank you. Madam Clerk? Oh, thank you, Captain.
Okay, as I stated previously, there is a 4-minute time limit on anyone who would like to address the board on the budget. Would you kindly give your name and your residential address? Is there anyone who's come to address the board?
Yes, please step forward.
Someone lift an envelope over that gentleman who's here, lift an envelope.
It's okay, thank you.
Linda A. Sorry, but I don't have to give my address. Don't ask for an address. I think the most important thing is that Abe Zambrano, oops, I said your name,
It's all right.
didn't give, I'm being sarcastic.
I know.
What is the percentage increase of the general fund? Percentage.
I believe the tax rate increase of the proposed budget, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, is that 2.83?
Excuse me, I must interrupt. Captain, when they're talking, you stop the clock.
How about you finish saying all that you want to say, and then we'll respond.
No, I'm going to take notes as I say it. He's competent.
He's certainly competent, but we don't want to make this too
I want the
chaotic.
percentage increase for the general fund and the percentage increase for water. Please.
What was the question again? I'm sorry. Was the question what's the tax rate?
No, what is the percentage of the increase? 5%, 10%, 2%, 1%?
In the tax or the appropriations?
In the entire budget.
The total appropriations decreased by 0.8%.
Okay, they always advertise the budget is increasing 2%. It's increasing 10%. I remember when the water went up 30%.
But there's-
Perhaps you can offer an explanation of the distinction between the
There's
tax
actually-
rate
there's
versus the
actually-
total budget, yeah.
From last year, how high are we going?
The actual total budget actually decreased by by $29,000 change over last year's budget. The total expenditures. If you're looking for the tax levy, that's a different.
Just
number.
gave me a figure, sir.
Okay.
What is the percentage compared to last year? If we
of the
went
total
down-
budget is 0.08% decrease.
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 That's what the average citizen is concerned with.
I think the average citizen may actually be concerned with what their tax bill is, which is different.
But I see over here my taxes or whatever, 3,000 for the village. I'm
Right.
paying like 13,000. That's only village. We
Right.
leave
Right.
things out and people get.
Right, we're, yeah, correct, we're only talking about the village, but the actual tax rate is the proposed tax rate increase, which is the amount that you would pay on your tax bill, is a proposed rate of 2.83.
2.83%, correct.
My question is, did we go up from last year or down from last year?
Your bill, as the proposed amount, goes up 2.8%. The total expenditure goes down.
Okay? What about water? How are we increasing our water bills? By what percentage, please?
5.5%.
And that, is the sewer going? I couldn't go. tell
Yes,
you.
also sewer, also
It's
correct.
going up more than 5.5.
They're both 5.5%.
Okay. I'd like to ask if I could borrow someone's tentative hard-copied budget for 24 hours. I will return it. I'm an honorable person. I know I can get it on internet. I don't have a computer.
We can,
so-
we can arrange for that.
I don't know that we have one on hand tonight, but is that a reasonable request?
Yes.
Oh, wow, lucky
And I
you.
will return it by tomorrow night? No,
We know you will.
I promise you.
Thank you.
Wait, I had one more question. What is it? I have followed the Weed and Grass Control Department for how many years, Mary Ann?
Between 18 and 20.
Possibly 25, I think. That's your slush fund. That's one of them. Last year you spent, oh, I lost my notes already. Last year, 1,680. The year before, 1,680. And you're going up to 2,500 now. I'll say this again. What you guys do, just all of you, when you're doing the budget, you pad something, and people get riled up that they're increased. And then what happens is, we're not going to go up 2.83%. We care about you. It's going to go up 2% instead. And how'd you reach that? Easy. You cleaned out the slush funds you have around here. That's my personal opinion. Last thing, you're spending, I think it was 1.8 million on vehicles.
That's all different types of equipment.
That's vehicles and
Their
equipment.
apparatus, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
You had two different breakdowns between recreation and parks, and another one for public. The outside of the recreation department is, I have pictures of it here since 2009, falling apart. First, I'd like to thank Chris Soy. Soy?
Yes.
I drove up the other day to take more pictures, and Carlos was outside repairing the fascia. When are those bricks going to be fixed? A stitch in time saves 9. If you don't fix the outside, you get a leak in the inside. I have pictures with me from 2009 about that. I think it was Chris's idea, I understand. But they fixed the fascia. What's the big deal? Why wait till next year to fix the bricks? Fix them.
Thank you very much.
You want pictures? I'll give them right now.
I am well aware of the disrepair
And the
that is
discoloration.
very visible on the outside of the recreation
sorry?
department. I'm well aware of the very visible disrepair of the recreation building, and I'm very sorry that it hasn't been maintained more
Well,
properly
I
in
thank
recent
Chris
years.
for doing something before I even came to yell at everybody. I am going to give you the pictures, though,
Okay,
and my email from 2009.
okay.
I'll give it over here.
To the clerk, thank you very much. Thank you, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
I don't know, but I have all the pictures.
Is there anyone else who's come to address the board on the budget?
Welcome.
Good afternoon, good evening. Quantel Bazemore, 170 Spring Street. Has the board made a decision on what module they're going to use for the Munis software versus like the 40,000 for the approved upgrades versus the 288?
The board hasn't made a decision on what our final budget is going to be. We haven't
Okay.
finished our
So
meeting.
I want to let you know I'm in favor of the upgrades, which is only $40,000. In the presentation in the budget, you said that there would be enhanced productivity, particularly like to the building department, DPW, and there was something called a citizens platform. Can you explain what citizens platform would look like?
Is that the online information that's
the online
available?
information, yes, exactly.
That is available online, or
Will be.
Munis provides for much more transparency and availability of information for the public online with their software.
so it'd be like OpenGov, like the presentation. Okay.
Yes, it's along those lines.
Okay. The comprehensive street sidewalk chip fund looked like $630,000. My question about that is once you get that money, are you going to be using, like, do you have proposed projects, or is it like, hey, I live on Madison Street, there's something wrong with my street, please come and pave it? How's that going to work?
Sure. Did the village engineer want to comment on that, on the process for that? Or the treasurer can comment if appropriate.
That money is usually used for capital-oriented construction with either annual bidders or a bid project for work that takes place in the right-of-way. That's funded by CHIPS reimbursement from the state typically, which is the $200 and roughly $30,000 to $50,000 we get every year. And then this year, for the first year in some time, the board has decided to supplement the CHIPS money to allow for more right-of-way work. Right-of-way more often than less, meaning non-accessible sidewalk, curb, and pavement restoration.
All right, so you answered that. And I just wanted to let you know, like, I happened to take a look at the budget, and I was looking at the Spring Street, and I noticed, I said, okay, there was $89,000 last year for the Market Square redevelopment, and then we have $43,000 just for, like, the two-way traffic. I have to be quite frank, I'm not really in favor of the $450,000 capital project, just because I know we're talking about getting community input with the Market Square project, and I feel that it's kind of we're moving ahead of ourselves because we don't know what's going to be there. So yeah, that's just my comments on it.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who's come to address the board?
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Kim Jeffrey, and I live at 100B Morningside Drive. I don't mind giving my address. It's okay. I have a question on the water increase. If a 5% increase for the village water rate, does that mean that there is a 5% plus the half that goes for the unincorporated town residents?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay, so we're talking about a
1.5 time rates.
8%, give or take. It's about right. I'm so sorry. Well, the unincorporated town residents pay 1.5 times the rate that the village pays. So so it's just a 5.5% increase on the rate that they pay. I think I'm trying to clarify.
Village rate will be 5.5% higher, so, rather, will be 5.5%, and then town rate will be calculated from that 1.5% of that village rate. 1.5 times, right?
And so can that be translated? That doesn't translate into a percentage. It just translates into. I mean, for the average resident over there, I think we're just trying to figure out how that works out. That's what I thought. It seems to me that it would be about an 8% increase for the unincorporated. Am I incorrect in that?
I think you're adding.
Slightly more.
Yeah. I think it's just a math question here.
Right, yes.
It's still 5.5%. You're adding. That's not what you do in this case.
Okay, that's what I think we're.
Well,
that's
Tom is
exactly
gonna-
what I'm trying to figure out. What do you do in this case?
Right.
There you go.
Good evening, Ms. Jeffrey. Currently, the water rate for residents outside the village is $10.65 per 100 cubic feet, and it's scheduled to increase by 5.5% to $11.236 per 100 cubic feet. So it's a 5.5% increase. If your water bill is $500, it increases by 5.5%.
Okay, so it's just that the base is higher, I guess, and that's how that goes. That's what it is. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who's come to address the board?
You need to clarify something? Trustee-elect?
This question's for Paul. So do you have, like, where's the budget for, like, for street paving? Like say, if I'm on Madison Avenue, there's a pothole. Like, is that, like, where exactly is that in the budget? Would that be in the comprehensive street curb, or you just said it was capital projects? So
The street maintenance caused by pothole or utility restoration or anything like that is just a daily occurrence and not in a capital project scope is taken out of our operating budget because the majority of that work is completed by in-house staff, which comes out of our Schedule 5 salaries and therefore not put into a capital fund, and then the materials used are pulled out of our operating budget material lines.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else?
Good evening.
Good evening. Frank Sylvester, 5 Butler Place, Village. First of all, I would like to commend the village manager, the village board, especially the department heads for all their hard work on preparing this tentative budget. As a tentative budget, we all know that it's a living document, so there's still room to work. In the very tense atmosphere that this world is now living in, I really hope and pray that this board looks very hard at the police department, the fire department budget, EMS in the village. We are in such a close proximity, the metropolitan area, that no one is out of danger anywhere. And I would hope that our emergency services are well prepared and well trained. And when it comes time to trim a budget, I would hope that emergency services are at a little bit higher platform when it comes to cuts. I heard someone mention something about vehicles and equipment. Well, if they don't have a vehicle to get to the emergency, they might as well stay home. When they arrive there and they don't have the equipment, they might as well stay home. So I would hope that we keep our emergency service responders well prepared, well trained, and well funded. And that's not a hit on any of the other services in the village. We get tremendous services. I'm a lifelong resident of this village, and I'm very proud of the way everybody works. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sylvester. And I cannot speak for any of our emergency service department heads, although they will have an opportunity to speak later if they'd like. But I know that the board has really enjoyed the opportunity to meet with each of our department heads, and everyone has made compelling presentations for why they have included what they have included in the budget. It's been a very fruitful discussion.
Is there anyone else who's come to address the board? Not seeing anyone, I would like to have a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
On the board, Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will move on to mayor's and trustees' announcements.
Great, thank you very much. Wow, it's usually that happens a lot earlier in the evening. Well, we've been talking about the budget, so I'll just give a little bit of my thoughts on where we are in the process right now. At our next legislative session, the board will be presenting, which is December 2nd, the board will be presenting our final budget. It has been a very informative process. This is my third year on the village board going through the process. This is Trustee Quesada's fourth year, if I'm correct, and I believe, John Codman, you joined the board just in time to make this your fifth year reviewing the budget, and of course it's Trustee Levin's first year. When I said a couple of weeks ago that budget season is my favorite time of the year, I wasn't kidding. It really is my favorite season. It doesn't hurt that Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday and the two overlap. But it reminds us how much we do have to be thankful for in this village government, which is primarily the people of the community, the people that we all serve, and the people who put so much work into making this such a well-managed village every day. And budget season is the time of year where we really get to sit in a room and talk about what are your priorities, and how is your budget going to fulfill the goals of this board. And it's been a very productive process so far, a couple of full days of work. Thank you very much for everybody who has to take time off of your regular jobs so that we are able to meet with all of the department heads throughout full business days. I believe if you want to know what somebody's values are, you can look at how they spend their time and how they spend their money. And when I look at this budget, I can see that we are spending taxpayer dollars as wisely and efficiently as we can, and most of it goes toward the salaries and benefits of the people who work so hard on behalf of all of us in this community. There are a lot of new faces around the table during budget season this year, new department heads. Welcome, Zoe. This is your first budget with the village board. And of course, at the top is our manager, Abe Zambrano, and he's done an excellent job at preparing his tentative budget. We are really enjoying the process with you as the manager. It's been, I feel, as collaborative and open and as collaborative as I've ever participated with in the village, and we really appreciate that. And the outstanding work of the finance department to put together these incredible amounts of information and keep it so organized that we're all able to follow along with every line in this budget in every department, and you actually understand what each of these numbers means and are able to help us understand it is really an invaluable service that you provide. So thank you very much, Treasurer Warren and Deputy Treasurer Ferrer. Please pass on our thanks to her. And to all the department heads, we know that this year you did even more work than you have in the past. Not only did you prepare the numbers, you prepared a narrative for us to provide us with some understanding in paragraph form of what your goals are and how you're looking to achieve those this year. So thank you very much. Tom Warren for asking for that to be part of this year's budget. It really has been a terrific process to be part of. And while I've got the floor, I'll remind you that tomorrow night you can join us at another note, the village at the library. We have the documentary and discussion series, 6:30. As always, it's free. This month's film is called Ivory Tower. It is about the high price of college education and the incredible amount of debt that our students and their families are burdened with when they choose to go to school. So it's followed by a really interesting panel discussion, including Assistant Principal Lorraine Longing, and I hope that you will join us at 6:30 at the Budars Theater in the Ossining Public Library, Thursday, November 19th. With that, any of my fellow trustees have any announcements tonight?
I don't have any announcements. I just wanted to comment on what the mayor just said, which is we really did look at every department line by line, and it was amazingly educational to really understand where the money comes from, where the money goes, and all the department heads that did just really a lot of heavy lifting to make sure that every single item was accounted for. And I really appreciate all the time that people spent on explaining things to me, but also all the time that people took in preparing and understanding that there was going to be pushback to all the line items.
Thank you.
I just want to echo of what was said so far. Is always exciting to be this time of the year. Definitely, it's more. I don't want to say like Christmas, but definitely up and to that level. What is interesting is we're not done yet. Still have one more meeting to go, and I believe we always try to figure out a way how to save taxpayers' money, and we tried to do that this year again. We are under the 2% tax cap, but it's very difficult and to try to cut something that there's nothing to be cut This budget that was presented, it was so well screened by our village manager that it was really hard to say, no, we cannot do this. No, we cannot do this. Definitely, and I agree with what was mentioned early. Fire department, the police department, EMS, and all the building department and DPW. Those are treasurer's office. Those are actually all the departments are very important to us as our overall. But we are looking ways to save money. But we're not done. I think we have found a couple dollars here and there. So just wait until December 4th, sure.
December 2nd.
Second?
Yes.
December 2nd. But thank you.
Yeah, I'll just make a couple comments. I too feel very strongly about the efficiency of the process that we've gone through. I think that Manager Zambrano brings a unique lens to the process because he comes from a finance background, and he also was an employee here in the village. And I think that that institutional knowledge of the finance area really benefited us in that, and he brought that to its full display through the process, and I want to say how much I appreciate that. I think in a lot of cases too that our budget benefited this year by some of the commodities that we buy, namely fuel. As everybody knows, it's a lot less to fill up your tank of gas. Well, that's less money for us to fill up our vehicles, and not just gas but oil. We're definitely going to see some savings through that. The whole exercise we went through with the town to look forward to see where there's money savings, I think some of that stuff's already been implemented, and both the town and Village of Ossining will benefit from that. And I think there's more to come around the energy side. We're now getting the final results of some energy audit work that was done earlier this year, and I think there are going to be some low-hanging fruit that's going to provide even more savings from an operational perspective. So I'm very proud of the work we've done so far, and I think as Trustee Casada mentioned that I think we might be able to find a few more dollars here, and I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We will move on to administrative reports, and we will begin with Village Manager Abraham Zambrano.
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. Thank you for those kind words. I think I take my job seriously, so I hope that I continue to, serve with that much enthusiasm, and to you and the community. But one thing that I want to just mention too, I also want to thank Treasurer Warren and Deputy Treasurer Ferreira for the hard work. I mean, they do the number crunching that they do during the process is really haven't been there in the past. I know that I know what it is. It's very painful, and it's quite lengthy. So I want to thank you. I mean, thank them also for that. The other thing that I want to mention in relation to the budget is my philosophy is once the budget is adopted for 2016, the 2017 budget will begin. The season will begin immediately thereafter. It's never too soon to start the process of the new budget, because as we go through, I mean, there's certain things that we begin to look for additional efficiencies. We're going to have to be able to deliver you a budget for 2017 that's going to meet the tax cap, and again, so the process will continue immediately thereafter for the fiscal year 17. So I can assure you that together with the department heads, we will make sure that that happens for the following year. So the other thing that I wanted to mention also is we did add a resolution late today, and it's a resolution authorizing the execution of a grant application. This is through a funding it's a TD Bank funding through the Arbor Day Foundation. God bless you. And it is for $20,000. 50% of that money, no more than 50% can be used for the purchase of trees. So we have plans on doing some additional landscaping at the rec center is one of the areas that we want to do, and also together with the village engineer and and Chris and the superintendent of recreation, we're going to look the areas, the tree wells on the business areas. We're going to try to put something together so that we can dress those areas up as well. So I hope that, you support that resolution so that we can apply for the funding. Again, it's a $20,000 grant that there's only 14 communities that qualify for it, and Ossining is one of them. But there's more than one grant that can be awarded. So I think we have a pretty good chance.
Excellent.
So, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
We'll move on to Corporation Counsel, Lori Lee Dixon.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. I wanted to point out some specific resolutions just to remind the public where we are in the process. I think the most exciting resolution for me personally is item G, which is a call for hearing and your necessary referrals on the text amendment. This is to accommodate the proposed expansion of the definition of artisan workspace. This will include the small batch confectioners and also textile makers and craft breweries and small distilleries in the zones where the industrial use is permitted of artisan workspace. So we've set this public hearing for January. This gives us enough time to do some more notification and also to await the recommendations from both your planning board because this is a proposed text change to your zoning code. It's necessary under the zoning code to refer this to the planning board for their discussion and their recommendation back. And it's also necessary for you to send this to your Environmental Advisory Council so they can discuss the consistency with the LWRP. I did send out an email this week asking your current planning consultant to assist me in the preparation of the necessary secret documents, including the coastal assessment form, which need to be forwarded to those boards. Also, there's a necessity to send this down to the county planning for their notes and for their recommendation as well. So it's going to take that time to bring it back, and this will give us plenty of time to let the public know of the document itself. I'm having it uploaded tomorrow to the website. It will be, the full text will be available, and also it will be available at the clerk's office as well. The public notice will be published in due course, and all of that will happen in time for the January 6th, 2016, it's coming, it's right around the corner, public hearing here in this room at 7:30. So that's very exciting. We also, I also wanted to take the opportunity to thank Treasurer Tom Warren for being able to come back so quickly with the bonding resolution, which is a companion to the resolution that you discussed for the design and construction management of the dam project. We put it on, as I had suggested, with the language that says subject to the financing. So just so happened Tom was on the ball and he was able to get that resolution ordered, and it received it in time. It's resolution F, and its companion is E, which is the one that I drafted. So thank you for that, Thomas, and I appreciate that effort. I also wanted to remind the public that you have a resolution on tonight waiving the meter parking fees during the holiday period. You will be enforcing the 2-hour time limit in the metered areas throughout the village. However, the meters themselves will not be accepting quarters. So we can promote shopping at the local merchants and use of the local businesses and restaurants during the very busy holiday season. So that's a positive thing that resulted from discussion you had at your work session as well. You also have your amendment to the CSEA contract. This permits the village manager to actually execute the proposed revision to the uniform allowances that you discussed. All of that will be on tonight's, and I thank you for that. I'm also proud to say that you're authorizing advertising for the bids on to refurbish the E1 rescue fire apparatus. So that made it to your agenda this evening as well. There's a tax certiorari, but we don't like to talk about those in detail. So it's there. It is what it is, and we can move on. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Captain Scott Craven.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Chief wanted me to pass on a couple things. In October, we had 3,485 blotter entries. Wrote 389 moving summonses and about 1,000 parkers. And in the month of October, we had 86 arrests. Also wanted me to pass on to the public that in the next couple of weeks, or as the holiday season approaches, as we in every department in Westchester County does every year, you will see an increased police presence in places of worship and critical infrastructure, things like that. So don't be surprised or alarmed if you see the uniformed police officers at the train station on the platform, something we've been doing for a long time.
Thank you for being so mindful.
Fire Chief Matthew Scarduzio.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members
evening.
of the board. The Ossining Fire Department has responded to 574 alarms to date. This month, we responded to 2 structure fires. The first one was on Broad Avenue, fully involved car fire inside a garage. The second was at 4 in the morning on Bellevue Avenue. Came in as a porch fire. Actually turned out to be a spotlight on the side of the house, which burned back into the walls and was up into the roof line. I just want to commend the membership of the fire department for the quick knockdown and saving the property, because we were able to knock it down really fast. So a round of applause for them. We've also responded to numerous automatic alarms, a lot of gas leaks, as we know. And at this time of the year, our CO alarm calls are picking up. And with that said, to all our village and town residents, just a reminder, this time of the year, CO gets produced a lot more with the heat, with the more fuels you burn in your house, with the fireplaces, boilers, with the heating season approaching. So make sure your CO alarms are operational and make sure they're up to date. They do expire at 5 years. So just check on the back and look at the date. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you very much for tending to particularly those structure fires. You did a nice job talking about it on News Channel 12 and explaining to folks it was less than 45 minutes that they were able to take care of the fire, even though it was inside the wall. So
yes, like
well
I said,
done.
they did a very good job. They got inside and were very aggressive about it. So thank you.
Thank you. My neighbors thank you as well.
Village Engineer Paul Frioli.
Good evening, Mayor and Trustees.
Good evening.
I'd like to start this evening by reminding everyone that now that falls upon us, that DPW crews are out there in full swing and started their leaf collection last week. They're staying a little past their normal business working hours to get as much off the street as we can, because it does happen fast and a lot of people have their leaves out there already, because there's still the non-baggers out there that we have to serve. And in so much as that's afforded to the village, we asked in return for that service that the public do their very best not to take up any parking spaces in front of their yard by putting leaves into the street or causing any drainage or traffic issues by putting leaves in the street, and that they put it behind their curb line, but at the same time, if they have a sidewalk in front of their house, they maintain that thoroughfare as well to not impede any pedestrian traffic. And we'll get them up off the street. I shouldn't say that. We'll get them off from in front of your house as fast as we can. Towards the end of the year, at the beginning of the next, residents will receive via bulk mail their solid waste newsletter, which includes the color calendar, which we've had in there for probably at least the last 10 years now. There are some changes to the collection schedule to better serve the residents, particularly around the holiday season. So you'll see those. A couple of other things that we have in the newsletter this year, we're trying to work in conjunction with the things that we ask when people get rid of their bulk trash. Typically, there are a lot of mattresses because of the turnover in some of the multifamily districts in the village, so we are requiring it and will enforce it, mattresses to be bagged. We're trying to do our part with the spread of the bed bug issue that still exists in this region. So we have went ahead and procured some mattress bags and make them available through the DPW office. It's a very nominal pass-through charge of, I think it's about $2 that we're going to start selling them for. And we ask that if you're going to get rid of your mattress and you don't have a mattress bag, that you get one from DPW if you expect it to get picked up. If not, you're going to get visited by the sanitation foreman, who will ask you to bring it back into your yard until you have that in place. Also, as a segue, the holiday season is upon us, and the tonnage usually picks up. There's a lot of parties that go on, and a lot of events, and a lot of end-of-year type things that cause a lot of heavy trash. So we ask that we have reciprocal respect for the fellas that are out there hucking it into the back of the truck, particularly heavy loads during this time of year, and some nasty weather, that you make sure you're cognizant of how much weight you're putting in the can, and you try to put as much as your waste into the can that you can, because that makes their job easier. It makes the quality of life for your neighbors better, and it's just a nicer overall thing to do. Some of the capital projects. Oh, let me go one more administrative thing. I wanted to thank David Stone in particular, because I know he just finished and sent over to Chief Scarduzio the specifications for the E1 rehabilitation. So he's our guy that does those type things, that crosses the T's and dots the I's to make sure that our procurement process is satisfied for items like that. So thank you, David. Some capital project mentions. The Kilbrook. If you peek over to Brook, you'll see that we are nearly complete. I mean, there is very minimal railing work to be completed. So we're really truly in the home stretch there. So that's exciting. Chris and I have been discussing some things, and have approached the manager to get a venue in front of this board to discuss some entry statement aesthetics and some naming possibilities and signage possibilities. So hopefully Chris and I can be in front of you soon, and we'll discuss those details, and we'll try to procure them during this capital project so we can make it ready for some ribbon cutting of before the end of the year. Pine Avenue was going to be a capital project, as you know, but now that is completely off the table because Con Ed is not finished. They gave us an original completion deadline of October 1st, so that's obviously long past. So we'll look to scarify and pave that road during the next paving season in 2016. And that's typical, because I was asked earlier from the audience, that's monies that we'll pull from the Capital Highway paving line that we have in place with CHIPS money and supplemental money from the borough. The LED lighting project, the town and village inventory check was completed last week by myself and the vendors that are performing that work. I just wanted to bring in the books. I don't think I showed these at a village meeting, but there's the town and village books that I need to check and certify, because this is what's going to be sent back to Con Edison if there's any discrepancies in the bills, and make retroactive reimbursement. We don't have a final real calculation on what that reimbursement may be, but I can tell you that both the town and village are probably owed money. I will give you the exact details on that once Con Ed concurs with what we submit. But just to show you the type of thing that we're going to be submitting, I could hold it up to the camera. Basically, it's basically an inventory made out in nodes superimposed onto our GIS mapping, and that mapping includes every NYPA power bill fixture that exists in the town and in the village. Those are all scheduled to be replaced with light emitting diodes or LED fixtures, and that work may actually commence as early as next week within the village. So that's pretty exciting. In-house, there was some work that took place in the road of some little more than the typical in-house work. If you've driven past Lower Linden, there was an actual culvert collapse that we had going on, and the guys detected it and cordoned off that road until we were able to do a nice tri-party effort. The majority of the work was done by our highway crews, but we did use our local Union Ornamental and Central to do some structural steel work for us, and then we used our annual bidder to do the paving restoration. But that was a very significant job that we did in-house with in-house design and in-house labor, and I could pretty safely say that that would have been significantly more expensive if that was a project that had to go out to an outside contractor via the bid process. So I'd like to recognize the guys for that one, because that was a good one. Thank you.
I do have one question about the LED lighting project.
Yes.
If there are community members who would like to suggest a particular block or a particular area that they may want to have the lighting changed, maybe a light added to an area that seems to be poorly lit now, it seems like now would be the time for that to be considered. I believe that once the LED lighting is in, that may not be as necessary as people think because it's going to do a better job of lighting the space. But if people want to send in their suggestions, is it appropriate for them to send it to Manager Zambrano and he can share that with you?
Well, people have been sending suggestions in via the telephone already, and we're making a log of those. But to echo what you said, we don't want to do anything premature because I think it's best to go and review what we have when we could still change things around than to tell someone, yeah, we're going to add a fixture, or no, we're going to take one away before they have a chance to see what the LED aesthetic is. So we're logging it, and we'll make any tweaks at the end when I think that's a more appropriate time.
Understood. But if people do have areas of concern, now would be the time for them to call them to your attention so they can be reviewed once the new lighting is in?
Yes, they can call 941-4660. That's the DPW main office, and we will make note of it.
Thank you very much.
If you call in Village Hall too.
Okay. Trustee Codman?
Just a question for you. Around the Con Ed, Pine Avenue, I mean, I live at the bottom of, or I live in Ferris, so I'm always going down that street. I haven't seen Con Ed there for a couple of weeks now. Did they just stop doing anything?
We've been reaching out for them. In a nutshell, the original idea was they were going to finish and put temporary patch in there, and we were going to come in and do all the restoration work. But since they missed their deadline of when they would finish, we told them, if you do miss that, you're going to have to come in and do permanent restoration to carry us through to next year until we're ready to go in and pave the road, so we don't have any issues like this all winter long. So we are on top of Con Ed, and hopefully you will see that work taking place before the first snowfall.
And the other thing is, just to reinforce what you said about that project, because I take a walk around the block when I'm working from home, and I walked and I watched those guys work, and it came out really nice. I mean, everything got paved over, and that's a very important culvert. That's the culvert that water runs down all behind. It follows 133 all the way down the hill. It actually crosses underneath Ferris Place, the bottom of Ferris Place near to Croton. And that ends up all the way into Kilbrook, right? It goes all, I think, it goes all the way down by the.
Yes.
So it's a major water carrier of water runoff. So I'm glad we were able to do that work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Superintendent of Water and Sewers, Andrew Teese.
Good evening, Mayor and Board.
Good evening.
Well, our reservoir is going to fill tonight or tomorrow, but we're at 99%, and last month we were at 91% capacity. We're currently purchasing 75% of our water from New York City. Last month we were purchasing 90%, so we're in a good place right now. The cement water relining project. The contractor has completed all the cement water relining for the first phase. The new 12-inch main was installed down Secor and Lower Main, all the way down to Hunter. The second phase will start in April for the rest of the cement water relining. So all the new main work is done, and part of the cement water relining work is done, and all the bypass piping is completed and up out of the way for the winter. Harbor Square developers started the installation of the new 12-inch main down Snowden Avenue last week, or actually up Snowden Avenue. The goal is to complete 600 feet out of the 1,200 feet of installation before January of this year. The contractor will come back and finish the remainder of the work before next summer. The fall hydrant flushing program was completed 2 weeks ago. We do this twice a year to enhance water quality, as well as cleaning the water mains to prevent tuberculation. Tuberculation is the closing of mains. Presently, our village manager and corporation council are drafting an IMA with the town of Newcastle to finalize our ability to purchase water from the town of Newcastle during the high peak usage. It's an IMA. So once this IMA has been executed, we'll move forward with the design and bid documents of the interconnection meter pit. So we're working concurrently on the design work at the filter plant once that resolution goes through, along with interconnection work. That'll give us capacity until the filter plant is built. Tonight we have a resolution for engineering services, Resolution F, before the board. This is one of the top priorities for our water system to ensure capacity along with water quality for all of our residents. It's taken years to get to this point of the decision-making process. I know that this is the right decision and the right direction. We must continue for the future of our village. It's the lifeblood of the village. So I appreciate all the work that everybody's put forth towards this. Thank you.
Well, the person who's put as much work as anybody toward this is you, Andrew Thiessen. It is an incredibly large project, and we appreciate your leadership on it. It's been pretty complex, and we appreciate your time and attention to helping us understand the reason why you've been recommending it and the reason why we're supporting it.
Thank you.
Treasurer Thomas Warren.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Board of Trustees.
Good evening.
This is a very busy month for the Finance Department as we're meeting with the manager and the village board to review and discuss the 26 tentative budget. And I want to thank you all for your positive comments on the budget process and efforts tonight, so thank you.
Thank you.
On November 10th, we mailed out about 380 letters to village water sewer customers and property owners that have unpaid delinquent water sewer bills through June 2015. Following our procedure and pursuant to state law, this letter advises that if the unpaid balances are not paid by December 2nd, 2015, the balance plus accrued penalties will be added onto the taxpayer's 2016 village property tax bill. We will present this information at the December 9th village board work session with a follow-up authorizing resolution for the December 16th legislative agenda. And we'll also be following a similar procedure in early 2016 for unpaid delinquent water balances for water customers outside the village to have these water accounts added to the town and county tax bill if they remain unpaid at that time. We're approaching the end of 2015, and we're still continuing our efforts to collect unpaid 2015 real property taxes, as well as unpaid prior year tax liens. The unpaid 2015 taxes right now is just less than $314,000, which is a decrease of about $16,000 from the balance a year ago at this time. And also unpaid tax liens are at about $263,000, which is about $6,000 less from the amount as of a year ago. As mentioned previously, the agenda tonight includes a bond resolution for the design and construction contract for the planned water filtration plant. Since the period of probable usefulness on engineering services by itself is just 5 years, I asked our bond counsel if he would word the resolution to provide that the debt service requirement begins each year and each phase of the engineering contract, and as the monies are borrowed, so that we start with a 5-year debt payment back on the amount borrowed, rather than starting to pay the full amount on the band. And then once the construction begins, the unpaid balance of the band will be added to the 20-year bond for the water filtration plant, and then it will be able to be amortized over the entire 20 years. So I think that this was a smart move to ask our bond counsel to word this, because this way the amount to be included in the budget would be $200,000 for the first year, based on $1 million being the approximate cost of the first phase of the engineering contract, instead of the $760,000 if you calculated 5 years based on the entire amount of the borrow. And finally, attended a luncheon of the Municipal Administrators Association today. Norma Drummond, the Deputy Commissioner for the County Department of Planning, was the speaker, and she spoke about the progress report on the housing settlement activities for the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
move on to Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, Christopher Soy.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees. Administrative report for this past month on our recreation program side. Our youth basketball program registration is currently open, but our deadline is fast approaching. The last day to register is this coming Friday, November 20th. This registration deadline is especially important for our 5th through 8th grade boys basketball program, as player evaluations are being held on the following day, which is Saturday, November 21st. If anyone is interested in signing their child up for this program, I strongly urge them to do so no later than this Friday to avoid any possibility of being shut out. Registration is also limited, so again, register as soon as possible. We are offering a 4-lesson swim instruction mini session this December into January. Registration is open for that program as well, and lessons start the first week of December and run through the first week of January. If you're interested, please call the Recreation Department at 941-3189 for more information, or visit the department webpage at villageofossining.org. Our winter program details are being finalized, and we anticipate having the 2015-2016 winter program brochure available to the public by Wednesday, November 25th. The brochure will be emailed out through our Rec News distribution list, posted on our department webpage, and posted on our Facebook page. Hard copies of all program information, as always, will be available at the Community Center. Special events. The DARE Halloween program took place on Saturday, October 31st. The event ran smoothly and was well attended. I would like to thank the Ossining Police Department, specifically Detective Ed Walker, for his assistance in coordinating the event and for acting as the Master of Ceremonies as well. I would also like to thank the Ossining PBA for supplying the candy, and the Ossining Rotary Club for providing the hot dogs and refreshments. Finally, I'd like to recognize our Recreation Department staff, particularly Event Supervisor Brenna Burrows, for bringing it all together and making it a fun and safe Halloween night for all those who attended. We also offered a haunted house attraction at the Community Center on both Friday, October 30th and Saturday, October 31st. I would like to thank June Conklin and Artist Thornton and their support staff for their time and effort in putting together an authentically scary experience. Upcoming programs and events. The annual downtown tree lighting will take place on Friday, December 4th from beginning at 5:30 p.m. We will have holiday music, sing-alongs, refreshments, followed by the lighting of the tree, and a visit from Santa himself to help kick off the holiday season here in Ossining. On Saturday, December 12th, we will have a Breakfast with Santa event at the Community Center. There will be 2 seatings, one at 10 a.m., one at 11 a.m. You must call or stop down to the Community Center to pre-register your child or children for one of the 2 seatings. There is a maximum of 100 children per session, and this program is open for children ages 1 through 12 years old. On the parks and facilities, we are nearing the end of our fall sports season. Athletic field use is coming to a close, and field maintenance responsibilities are slowing down. We had a successful fall season, providing and prepping playing fields for the following programs: AYSO soccer, JCYS fall baseball and softball, Ossining Little League football, and our in-house recreation co-ed adult softball program. We have also moved into the leaf season, so Parks crew is busy clearing and collecting leaves in the parks and other areas of responsibility throughout the village. Park restrooms, water fountains, field irrigation systems, and all other necessary facilities are getting prepped and winterized to be taken out of service for the winter. And finally, the Parks crew continue to work hard in support of our department special events, playing an integral part in the overall success of each event. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That leaves us with the Director of Code Enforcement, Al Sirocco.
Mayor, members of the board.
Good evening.
Okay, I have the building department's activity report for the month of October. New complaints, we had a total of 48 complaints. Just to give you a quick overview, mostly they consisted of property maintenance issues, which we had 10 there. We also had construction without building permits, which were 7. Fire safety issues, we had 6, just to name a few. Total complaints year to date, we had a total of 601 complaints. New and old complaints closed, we were able to close this month 38 complaints. Year to date, we've closed 396. Notice of violations, We had 6 issued this month with 25 counts. Violations, again, construction without building permits, fire damage, fire safety issues, and property maintenance issues. Year to date, we have closed 154 complaints with 308 counts. Getting to building permits, we've had 60 new building permits this month. Just to give you a breakdown of some of the permits that we deal with, we've had 21 building permits issued this month dealing with renovations, which include projects such as residential kitchen, alteration, a commercial restaurant alteration, 3 basement legalizations to habitable space, and 1 third floor legalization dealing with 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, just to name a few out of the permits. Also, some other ones that we've done this month deal with oil tank removals and replacements, and a number of boiler permits. I guess it's that time of month, I mean that time of year, I should say, in winter. Also, we've done 10 solar panel installations reviews this month, and that covers the building permits. The fee totaling for the building permits this month was $13,608. Year to date, we've issued 333 permits, fee totaling $113,449. We've issued 32 certificate of occupancies, year to date 257. We've had 15 plumbing permits issued at $1,184. Year to date permits 181, fee totaling $13,507. Electrical permits 28. $1,898. Year-to-date permits 237, fee totaling $25,217. Backflow applications, we've issued 3 this month, fee totaling $300. Year-to-date 53, fee totaling $5,300. And we've issued 7 new tree permits. We've also done pre-date inspections, a total of 3. This month, fee totaling $300, predates to date 16, total $2,730. We've done 41 searches, fee totaling $4,125. Year to date, 287 searches have been completed, fee totaling $25,660. We've completed 50 foils this month, year to date total 274. Overnight parking inspections, we had 20. Year-to-date total 730. Section 8 inspections, 21. Year-to-date total 166. We've done fire assembly inspections, 11. Year-to-date total 192. And building and plumbing permit inspections, we've done a total of 197. Year-to-date, we've done 2,099. And just a couple of, and also the plan reviews that go with all those permits. Just a couple reminders to all property owners. Please, you need to, by New York State code, you are required to supply all your tenants with a minimum temperature of 68 degrees at all times from September 15th through May 31st. If anyone does have a heat complaint, please call the building department at 941-3199. That is during business hours, which are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And if after hours, please call the police department at 941-4099. Also, another quick reminder about smoke and carbon alarms. It is a requirement by New York State Property Maintenance Code that all residents install this throughout their homes per code. Also, which has just been amended just recently to New York State Code, is for commercial buildings. Okay, commercial buildings do need carbon monoxide alarms. For either residential or commercial, please feel free to call the building department at 941-3199, and we will assist you and inform you where they should be installed per code. And also to mention, the fire department does a great job. We did respond to a couple of fires along with them. I believe one was in Brookville and the other one was 19 Bellevue, and we are attending to their needs. that they need to take care of, and that's it.
Thank you. You mentioned you had some more solar permits. I just wanted to say kudos to the Ossining community. We are one of the communities that is really leading the way in the county of Westchester for having the number of homes that have installed solar, which is a reflection of, I think, very practical nature of people who choose to live in Ossining, recognizing that you can offset much or all of your electrical expenses, and I appreciate your office helping to make sure that that moves forward safely and smoothly for the residents.
And it has been. It's been going. I think we're one of the leading communities, as you said, as far as building permits that are issued, and it's a testament to everyone's efforts. And we're just looking to help facilitate as best we can.
Right. The Solarized Ossining program helped raise the awareness in the community, but we were already a leader in that. And I will say, I've had my solar panels up for about 1.5 years now, and I no longer pay anything for my daily usage of electricity, just the monthly fee for maintenance by Con Ed of the system. So go ahead and look into it if you are a property owner. Thank you very much, Al.
We'll move on to organizational announcements. Is there anyone who has come to address the board with an announcement?
Organizational announcements? Yes, we have someone. Welcome, Mr. Galata.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Board. How are you? My name is Matthew Galata. I'm the president and founder of Galata House. We aid Westchester residents facing a hardship. Income is not a requirement. We do local community events and scholarships. So I'm here tonight. Next Tuesday, we are rallying as a community for a Ossining family. And we are going to be partnering with the Ossining Interact Club, County Legislator Catherine Borgia, and Galata House partner up to help an Ossining family in need. And the star of it is Landmark Diner. And Ari has agreed that 20% of all the food next Tuesday, lunch, breakfast, and dinner, will be donated directly to the family, a local family, and the daughter goes to Ossining High School. And we are partnered up with the Ossining Interact Club also because they, for the first year, are going to be giving turkeys to Ossining residents, specifically the majority for Park School with the Westchester Food Bank truck on the 25th. So we're asking residents, businesses, department heads, local establishments, if you are or plan on eating on the Tuesday the 24th, please go to the Landmark Diner, support an Ossining local family. Any donation is 100% will be going to the family and 20% of the food. The turkeys will be distributed to the Ossining Interact Club at the high school on the 25th by myself and Ari about 8:30 in the morning. So please, if you want to purchase a turkey or just put money in for a turkey, drop it off at the Landmark Diner. This year has been phenomenal for Galata House. We made a lot of headways. The response has been tremendous. Different organizations that have rallied, the board members, and also department heads teaming up and doing whatever they can do. And I appreciate it. My board appreciates it, and the 37 community advisors in the Hudson Valley appreciate it. So I just want to say happy holidays. Thanksgiving is a time of giving. And if it's just not with Galata House, whatever nonprofit, because we are volunteers, and I specifically want to state again that no one gets paid. We are volunteers. Galata House, we all just do it because that's what we do. So thank you very much for letting me come tonight, and please remember to put it on your agenda. It's very important for this family. They're really the heart and soul, what he's been doing and what he works for, and his wife and daughter. So I know we're going to do it, so let's do it.
Thank you, Matt. I've put it on my calendar. I'll have all of my lunch or breakfast meetings next Tuesday, the 24th, at the Landmark Diner. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other organizational announcements? Not seeing anyone, we will move on to village board resolutions. Is there anyone who would like to comment on a board resolution?
Yes, you may approach. Linda A. Did you want to comment on a resolution? You can come up. Well, you're asking about, actually, no, you're not asking about a resolution. That would be basic comments. But we're doing an LED lighting system, and the entire street lighting is being, the heads are being replaced with LED street lights
So the
throughout.
lamp pole will stay, and he's just changing the top head?
For the most part, the lampposts there themselves are staying. It's just the fixture on top that's changing.
The bulbs.
Right.
You can't ask them questions and I have
Go
questions.
ahead, go ahead.
Okay. I listened tonight, and I listened to you say thank you to Thomas Warren. I listened to her say thank you to her. Her thank you to him. Abe Zambrano thank the world. Thanks it's nice to be recognized. I'm here to talk about Amendment C.
Okay.
I'm the one who pushed for this. I thought the building department employees looked sloppy in court. I'm sorry, wrong word. Unprofessional. And I went so far as to say I would pay for, and I still will, 6 pair of pants for the 3 guys that stand there. I'd like to thank you. I'm the one who got this resolution pushed through. But nobody up there, not even you, Abe Zambrano. Abe, I'm sorry, no last names, right? I'll never let that go. Nobody thanks me. I have gotten, in the 31 years I'm living here, over 30 laws, rules, regulations changed. From my nagging, from my tenacity, because I care. And I think if half the residents in Ossining cared half as much as I do, not one thing I got changed helps me. For me to donate whatever it would cost for 6 pair of pants would not affect me. I want our staff to look professional. That's not too much to ask. I'm surprised nobody else. You don't have 4 minutes for resolutions here, Scott. I'm sorry, Captain. You don't have 4 minutes of
It's 3
resolutions?
minutes for comments on resolutions. Am I correct,
Oh,
Madam
I
Clerk?
can keep talking then.
You don't have to, though.
I know, don't push it, Victoria. I think people should care. They have to care. Abe Zambrano has what I consider an open door. He pulls people in. We were sorely lacking that for so long. I attribute that to you and your team up there. And I'm very happy that I don't get a copy of the change in the CSEA law, though. I deserve a plaque. You gave Bob a plaque for what?
Is this relevant to the resolutions for this
Part of
evening,
my
ma'am?
question. I deserve a plaque. I deserve one like Omar. He didn't build the Brooklyn Bridge.
I think you may be getting a little off topic, Linda.
No, I'm not. I deserve a thank you from someone here. I even got the Treasurer's Department to stop using colored paper because I care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Is there anyone else who has any comments on resolutions? Not.
Wow, we're just now changing the tape, huh? Okay. Yes, go right ahead. It'll be a moment for the viewers at home. Figure out how to use them with the first location. Welcome back, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Approval of minutes, November 4th, 2015, regular meeting. Resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the November 4th, 2015 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
Do we have a motion
So moved.
on the board? Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated November 18th, 2015, the amount of $1,035,252.35. Do I have a motion?
Second.
On the board. Trustee Cotton?
Just the amount is over $1 million for the vouchers for this grouping. About $400,000 of that was what Andy mentioned, which is the relining. So glad to see that our infrastructure continues to be repaired, and hopefully that will last another 100 years or something. We'll see what we can do. But anyway, that's what that's for.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved, the village manager of the Village of Ossining is hereby authorized to execute an amendment to the 2014-2018 CSCA Collective Bargaining Agreement, Village of Ossining Unit 9163, Local 860, revising Article 5, Section 3, uniforms in accordance with the mutual agreement of the parties at a meeting held on October 27th, 2015. Such amendment, known as Amendment 1, shall become effective immediately. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
On the board.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
Please do.
I'd like to thank Linda A. for bringing this to our attention. And her comments were important in making this particular resolution happen.
Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas the village desires to promote Shop Local for all businesses village-wide during the holiday shopping season, and whereas one method of facilitating such local shopping is to waive the fees associated with metered parking. Therefore, be it resolved that effective for the period of December 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2015, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby waives the payment of fees associated with metered parking village-wide and authorizes the enforcement of parking by a vehicle in each metered spot to be a 2-hour time period. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
On the board, I would like to comment. I'd like to thank community members, including Linda A., who have... No, I'm sorry. You'll have to reserve your comments. You had an opportunity to speak to the resolutions.
Important.
I'm sure it is.
Very important.
I'm sure it is.
I got this one changed.
I'm
5 years,
sure
and I
it
thank
is.
Abe Zambrano
No,
and you
Linda,
for pushing
please,
it.
please, stop. I was
did this
about
one
to
too.
thank you, Linda. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved that the Village Board of the Village of Ossining hereby accepts a proposal from Hazen and Sawyer Environmental Engineers and Scientists of 498 7th Avenue, New York, New York, dated October 6th, 2015, and following the finalization of the necessary bond financing, authorizes the village manager to enter into an agreement for an amount not to exceed $3,772,800 for professional services involving the design and construction of the new Indian Brook Water Treatment Facility, subject to the review and approval of said agreement by Corporation Council. Do I have a motion?
Second.
On the board. Yes, please go right ahead.
One of the things that we, as a board, we have to do, we have the responsibility to assess with the help of our department heads, in this case, from our water department. We have to look ahead. We have to look what is in the future, or what is the best formula, I guess, that we can find to provide all the services that our village residents need. This is a very important project for the Village of Ossining, and not just for the Village of Ossining, but for all the residents that benefit from the water that we provide. So I'm in full support of this project going forward, and I think is going to take us to a new level of how we produce and maintain our water supply here for the village. So I appreciate that to the village manager's office, to the water engineer, actually village engineer, and Andy as well. So thank you. Thank you for all the good work that you guys do.
I would, oh, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I just, this is just so important. We're one of the few municipalities that has the ability to really deliver its own water. And we're blessed to have that resource, but we also do need to think ahead. And now is the time to act. And Andy Tees has made this a passion, and that passion is our benefit here in the village when it comes to our water department. So I'm in full support of this, and I'm in full support of Andy for his great work.
Did you want to comment, Trustee?
No, I think it's all been said.
Well, I would like to fill the public in a little bit. Sometimes these are the meetings that people watch, and you may not have caught our recent work sessions. Last week's work session was an opportunity for the board to hear from, which was actually on Tuesday, November 10th, if you want to view it on the website or on YouTube. It was an opportunity for the board to understand in more detail what this plan is going to look like. It is a very significant project to be undertaken. It has been considered by boards in the past, and boards have, in the past, have not felt that it was time to do that. However, meanwhile, development has been happening, the demographics of the community have been changing, and we continue to see the impact of episodic weather as a result of climate change. All of those things are increasing the demand on our water supply. It was a year ago that an RFQ, a request for, what does Q stand for? Qualifications, thank you. For engineering went out, where we, there were 3 engineers that we heard from, engineering firms, and we went with Hazen and Sawyer, and they have been they're very well regarded, and we're pleased to be working with them on this project. They've also, that same engineering firm also came to us earlier this fall, and we had an in-depth discussion about water conservation efforts and programs that we might want to consider that would help encourage water conservation. And we've also been in contact with the DEP from New York City. We are one of New York City's largest customers. I think we're the 11th largest in the state. You may understand that we get water every month. Andy comes and tells us how the Indian Brook Reservoir is doing, how full it is, how much money, how much water we are buying from New York City, and that's from the Old Croton Aqueduct. New York City has their own challenges with water and their own efforts for conservation, and because we're one of their big customers, they came to us and said they'd like to help us help the community to be better water conservers. And so we look forward to working with them to help our residential and retail business customers, commercial customers, to find better ways to conserve water. So it's a two-pronged approach to be able to be less wasteful and to be able to expand our capacity. And it's a major undertaking. We are very grateful for the incredible work done by Superintendent Andrew Teese on this, and I am very supportive of us moving forward with this significant project. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A resolution authorizing engineering costs in connection with a new water treatment plant in and for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $3,800,000 and authorizing the issuance of $3,800,000 serial bonds of said village to pay the cost thereof. Be it resolved by the affirmative vote of not less than 2/3 of the total voting strength of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, as follows. Section 1. Engineering costs in connection with a new water treatment plant in and for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, is hereby authorized at a maximum estimated cost of $3,800,000. Section 2. It is hereby determined that the plan for the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimated cost shall be by the issuance of $3,800,000 serial bonds of said village, hereby authorized to be issued therefore pursuant to the provisions of the local finance law. Section 3. It is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of the aforesaid specific object or purpose is 5 years, pursuant to subdivision 62 of paragraph A of section 11 of the local finance law. It is hereby further determined that the maximum maturity of the serial bond herein authorized will not exceed 5 years. Engineering services will be undertaken in phases. 1. Conceptual and preliminary design. 2. Permitting and environmental assessment, and final design. And 3. Construction-related services. As such, the period of probable usefulness will convene for each phase upon the first borrowing. And we'll go down to Section 9. This resolution takes effect immediately and shall be published in summary form in the official newspaper of said village for such purpose, together with the notice of the village clerk in substantially the form provided in Section 81 of the local finance law. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Madam Clerk, on the board?
It's a roll call.
Is this a roll call
Yes,
vote?
it is. Okay, trustee Levin,
Or you say yay?
Say aye or
Aye.
trustee Kazada,
Aye.
trustee Codman,
Aye.
and Mayor Garrity.
aye.
Thank you. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining is considering adoption of a proposed local law known as Introductory Local Law Number 8, 2015, entitled Zoning Text Amendment, which law would amend certain provisions of Chapter 270 of the Village Code of the Village of Ossining to clarify the definitions of artisan workspace, to include an expanded list of examples of the handcrafted items, and to specifically include the serving of handcrafted alcoholic beverages as permitted accessories to a bar or tavern. Whereas pursuant to New York State law, the Village Board must conduct a public hearing on the proposed local law during which the public shall have the opportunity to be heard. And whereas pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and corresponding regulations thereto, any amendment to Chapter 270 zoning is an unlisted action, and the board has called for the preparation of a short environmental assessment form. And whereas pursuant to Section 270-59 of the Village of Ossining Code, the Board of Trustees acknowledges its obligation to seek a report from the Planning Board in advance of taking action on the introductory local law, since it includes a proposed amendment to Section 270-43, building permits, which amendment would include specific reference to demolition permits and
Where are you?
where are we here? We're taking out since.
So
Yeah,
what
I
do we,
don't-
Okay. Whereas pursuant to Section 270-59 of the Village of Ossining Code, the Board of Trustees acknowledges its obligation to seek a report from the Planning Board in advance of taking action on the introductory law. And whereas pursuant to Chapter 262 of the Village of Ossining Code entitled Waterfront Consistency Review, the Board of Trustees acknowledges its obligation to make a determination of consistency of any unlisted action with the village's local waterfront revitalization program, and will seek the necessary recommendation of the Ossining Environmental Advisory Council and forward a coastal assessment form. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to SEQA, the Village of Ossining Board of Trustees hereby assumes the role of lead agency on the action, and be it further resolved that in accordance with Section 270-59 of the Village Code, the Board of Trustees hereby refers to the Planning Board for a report, and be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees, in accordance with Chapter 262 of the Village Code, hereby refers Introductory Local Law Number 8, 2015 to the Environmental Advisory Council for a recommendation regarding the local waterfront consistency, and be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby calls for a public hearing on Introductory Local Law Number 8, 2015, entitled Zoning Text Amendment, on January 6, 2016, at the Birdsall Fagan Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street, Austin, New York, at 7:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as such matter may be heard, during which the public will have the opportunity to offer comments on such local law, and be it further resolved that Introductory Local Law Number 8, 2015 shall be available for public review in hard copy at the Village Clerk's Office and the Village Department of Planning in advance of the public hearing until close of business on January 6, 2016, and in electronic format on the Village of Ossining website at www.villageofossining.org, and be it lastly resolved that the Board of Trustees directs all requisite notices to be published and or distributed in accordance with applicable law. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
On the board, I would like to comment on this. The zoning text amendment came about in response to a request from a property owner who was speaking with a prospective business that could go into their property. And the board's support of this is indicative of our commitment to work with property owners and prospective businesses. It's important that our village does, at the very core of it, that we're a legislative body and we need to be creating an environment that is welcoming to local businesses so that we can have a vibrant economy to help local businesses thrive. And we encourage more local businesses and property owners to come to us if there is any reason that you are concerned that you're not going to be able to succeed because of zoning, then we're going to look into how we can change that. And this particular one refers to particular zones where this artisan workshop provision already exists, and so the zoning text amendment is a relatively simple path to get there, and I really appreciate Corporation Council's effort to find this means for being able to address this concern. I will also just clarify, there's something in the news this week on this subject. The journalist took some information that was provided and then filled in his own idea of what the rest of the story was. There were some inaccuracies in that. I will just clarify that there have been ways for some of these kinds of artisanal businesses to exist in the village, and they can continue to exist in all of our business districts if they include a significant retail component. What this allows for is it expands the definition of an artisan workshop, which previously may have thought of somebody doing woodworking, and now could also be considered somebody who's a creamery or a confectionery or a brewery or a distillery, something along those lines that expands the definition of what artisan workshop is. And I am very pleased to be able to support this and encourage these kinds of businesses to come to our community. We are open for business. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas the Village of Ossining ceased being a tax assessing unit in 1989 and now adopts the Town of Ossining assessment rolls prepared by the assessor of the Town of Ossining for all subsequent years, and whereas tax certiorari proceedings were instituted against the Town of Ossining by Highland Terrace Owners Corporation, have the index numbers 214-3308, 221-0609, 240-7510, 148-2511, 657-4012, 642-4013, 653-4514, and such proceedings recently concluded in the Westchester County Supreme Court, resulting in a judgment entered in favor of the petitioner, which, among other things, directs the Village of Ossining to audit and pay to the petitioner the amount of overpayment of real property taxes determined in accordance with the assessment fixed and determined by said judgment, as detailed in Schedule A. Whereas, in accordance with statutory mandates, any and all refunds of taxes necessitated by said judgment are to be made without interest and paid within 60 days after service upon the village of a certified copy of said judgment, or as may be set forth by court order. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining, upon certification by the village treasurer that all of the aforesaid taxes have been paid, hereby authorizes and directs the village treasurer to make the payments of refunds of real property taxes due Rothschild & Pearl, LLP, as attorneys for petitioner, and it is further resolved that the village treasurer shall make a notation in the margin of the assessment roll of the Village of Ossining that said assessment was reduced and payment of refund of the overpayment of real property taxes was made pursuant to said judgment, and that total is $44,366.06. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
On the board, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved that the village clerk is authorized to advertise for bids for contract OFD 15-02 refurbished E1 rescue fire apparatus to be returnable to the office of the village clerk. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board. Well, Fire Chief Scarduzio and Deputy Chief Sylvester, this is an example of some great work by, I believe this is the project that Engineer Fraioli, were you referring to David Stone's work in putting together this bid document? I'm pleased to see this moving forward. It's been long discussed, and it's good to see it is actually coming to the next stage. Madam Clerk.
All those in
Thank
favor?
you. Aye. Aye.
Opposed? That concludes completes your resolutions for this evening. Continuing business of the board, an update of 200 Main Street preferred developer status.
Okay. Village manager and I have been in close contact with Wolf, and his last name I cannot pronounce, but he's the principal involved with the Corinthian Group, and they've been actively engaged in their investigations. Just today, they asked for an additional document, which we're sending to them electronically for review by their engineer. It's actually a historical document, which I think will assist them in their timeline, and we do expect that they'll be coming back for an informal presentation of a development plan in the very near future. We'll put that on for work session, of course, so you'll have a chance to obtain the background information, and the public will have a chance to see what is going to be proposed in a formal way. And once your development plan is set by the board, then I can proceed to the term sheet, and we can move forward to contracts and further resolutions to come to permit the property to actually be developed and move toward final contract of sale and deed. So that's where we are in the process.
I would just like to add, too, that based on the number of inquiries that they have had, they're really taking the preferred developer status very seriously, and again, we hope to be able to have them come back to the board relatively near future with the continuation of the proposal.
I do have, I do have a question. When is the deadline on for this one? Do you recall? It's 3 months, sure. When is that 3 months up?
A 90-day exclusive preferred developer status.
Do we have an exact date on this?
I don't have the.
Okay. So I'm assuming that you guys had conversations with the preferred developer. Is there any inclination that they had, or any feedback that you can additional to what they have done so far in the research?
Nothing as of right now. I mean, they have been at the site several times. They are actually looking at engineering reports. They're actually doing their own engineering inquiries. But we have had no specific feedback. But again, based on the number of inquiries that they've had and the times that have been in the village, they are doing the due diligence. And again, to me, that's a positive sign about the fact that they haven't come back to us, with any exhausted areas that they not looking or giving us any indication that they're not looking into the property seriously. So.
If I may, just as a request that maybe before the end of the year, have a last update with them, and just to see if they can come into a work session and do like their presentation.
Absolutely.
Get some reports back from them, please.
I do anticipate with the remaining work sessions that you have left, there will likely be a need to have to extend the preferred developer status, because I doubt that a formalized development plan can be in place sufficient with which us to produce the term sheet. So
if we can get some
we'll
feedback
get an
with it,
idea from them on their timing, and then we can come back with what I suspect will be a proposal to extend the deadline.
Correct. I mean, we have done that before. I don't see that being a problem. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're looking for some good faith on their part, and we're certainly willing to come their way, I think, and give them an extension if we see some progress.
And I think also the fact that they were involved in another project in the village already, I think they already know the village pretty well, and so what they get themselves into and what kind of requirements the village will be looking for on this particular site.
Thank you.
Do we have any additional continuing business of the board?
We do, and I just also want to remind the public that I recused myself from any discussion of the 200 Main Street project, which is why I kind of sat back and didn't ask any questions. My husband has business dealings, not on this property, but with these same prospective developers, so I'm not going to be deliberating or weighing in on that. But I thank my colleagues as representing me as a community member. Process moving. And I also do want to comment on something that happened this evening with the parking. I just want to say that, to remind the folks at home, if you didn't read this carefully, that the 2-hour parking limit, an emergency. There go our Firefighters? Thank you, gentlemen. No? No? Thank you. I'll just consider this to be as continuing business because I didn't get to say it earlier. There's still a 2-hour parking limit that's in effect in all of the metered spots, and I am thankful to the police department, your willingness to be sure that you have a different approach to enforcement is essential for this to be successful for our local businesses, because if cars just decided to park for endless amounts of time, then that wouldn't be helping the businesses to get shoppers parking in front of their properties. So thank you very much. And thank you, Linda A., for pushing for this. You are right. It was an excellent idea, and I was pleased to be able to support it. And thank you very much for all of the departments that helped make it happen this year.
Do we have any new business on the board?
Really, if I may, this is the resolution that I mentioned earlier during my administrative report. We had emailed that to you earlier today because we had actually omitted it from the agenda initially. And this is the resolution authorizing the execution of a grant application for the funds for $20,000 through the Arbor Day Foundation and TD Bank. That's before the board.
And is that language available to the public on the website at this point, or it will be soon?
It will be, yes,
Okay.
it will be.
Would you like me to read?
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Whereas due to its location within a TD Bank footprint and as a current Arbor Day Foundation Tree City, USA community, the Village of Ossining is eligible for one of $20,000 grants in support of local forestry projects in low to moderate income neighborhoods through the TD Green Trees grant program. And whereas said program consists of 100% reimbursement grants, with the funds no more than 50% of which may be used for the purchase of new trees, to be provided upon completion of a qualified project and a final report, and whereas all grant applications will be evaluated by representatives of the Arbor Day Foundation and TD Bank based upon the following criteria: innovation, partnership, and community involvement, technical training, education, maintenance, and a system for evaluation of success. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of the Village of Ossining hereby authorizes and directs the village manager to file an application for funds in connection with the TD Green Streets grant program. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board. Just say thank you very much. This sounds like a wonderful opportunity. I look forward to seeing much success with our application.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That will take us into visitor recognition. Is there anyone who's come to address the board?
Please join us. Linda A. Big night. Yes. It's good to see you up and about.
Long haul. Not
I know.
finished. I think it's 4 minutes, Captain.
I don't know, what,
It says
Madam
3.
Clerk, is this a,
It's 3 minutes for visitor recognition,
Oh, I'm sorry, I
which is
screwed up.
what's on there.
you're good, you're good.
You're
Captain.
good.
Good, Scott. Captain. I just read a copy of this CSEA agreement. I pushed for 6 pair of pants. And the ending says, uses the allocation, each employee of all these departments is getting $200. Allocation for the purpose of purchasing work clothes. Doesn't say they have to wear it in court and look neat.
I believe that would be as directed by the manager.
I'm sorry?
I believe that would be something as directed by the manager.
And more specifically, in that particular case, actually, what we have to do is the wording, the verbiage on the resolution is mirrors what's in the contract right now. So, but it will be properly.
Retired.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Paul Frioli for something. Oh, the hell with these names. I had brought to the attention of the administration that signs in Butler Street was screwed up. 2 different signs contradictory. Told somebody in administration, they said, don't worry, they check it. Well, months went by. I called Paul 2 weeks ago. The signs were corrected. He's good, no matter what Annie says. Maybe somebody will go over to check out municipal lot number 8. The sign is here, municipal lot number 8, and there's a parking lot there behind 147 Main Street. Municipal lot is over there on the other side of the roadway. I've told administration over and over and over, all they need is an arrow under the municipal lot number 8 pointing that way. Maybe you could check it, Paul? You're good. I'm following through on all these lots. Maybe you can close tonight's meeting for everybody who was killed in Paris. You might want to consider that. I'm sick from it. I don't understand all of this stuff. I don't understand what these lunatics want. Just to go ahead and behead these innocent people. Congratulations to Manny, who worked hard on his campaign. It took me a lot of digging in my basement to find one of your political signs. But I cut off DeRayo's name on top. I screwed it to my wall. And, how do you say her name, Rika?
Rika.
Took me a long time to get your sign, you know. Your husband doesn't return phone calls. She did it. I called Victoria Garrity, and not only did she bring it, she stuck it in my lawn. What?
Okay, now we're talking about politics now, Linda.
This is, so do you. You sit up there talking about politics, how wonderful somebody is. But I'm thanking you for bringing me the sign. I can save it for next year. I think that's it. You should be happy. Oh, open government. See this piece of paper, open government? Here's a FOIL request I got. You say it's redacted? And this was only asking for newspaper delivery. You think they blacked out enough? I asked for employee numbers. Okay, I'm not entitled to put employee numbers. I could live with that. But you hide things in your resolutions. You hid something, and I know it was Billy S. Denny versus the village of Ossining. I know this village sued 4 or 5 or maybe 6 people last month, and it's encrypted in your resolution.
Linda, I'm going to have to say thank you very much. Their time is up.
If you tell everyone all these beautiful things that are going on here, take off your rose-colored glasses. Let the people know what's going on.
Have a good evening.
Oh, your paper. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. You should have said to return it. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. I wrote on it. That's okay. I'm very sorry. I wouldn't have. No, it's okay.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
All right.
Not seeing anyone, may I have a motion to adjourn to work session?
So moved. Second.
On the board, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes, Manager Zambrano, did you want to comment first on the item, the first item that's listed here?
Yes, Mayor. Actually, we have listed it with the intention of be able to discuss a proposed village vehicle use policy. And after we published it, actually realized that it's somewhat incomplete. So what I want to do is I want to ask the board to consider tabling it tonight. We will bring it back to you to another work session with some tweaks that need to be made before you really discuss it. Right now, I feel that it is incomplete, and I apologize for that. But I just want to make sure that moving forward, that we do bring a document that that's going to be better for you to consider and a little more descriptive with what the intent of the policy is. If you don't mind, I will ask that you table it.
I am supportive of tabling this. The draft that was circulated was actually, I believe, 2011 draft,
Yes.
which predates any of us on the board and also includes some dated information.
Yes.
And so I look forward to having a more updated version for us to consider in our work session, which I believe we'll discuss it on December 9th.
Yes.
Then we'll have an updated draft that's, and that'll give us an opportunity. It will be at a better starting point for the
Right.
conversation.
That's
And
correct.
Thank you.
Yes. Next item on the agenda, actually, we have a request from the Ossining, joint request from Ossining Chamber of Commerce and Danforth Markets to discuss the 2016 plan. Actually, so we have Frankie Rowland, who's representing Danforth Markets, and we'll address the board tonight.
Is there somebody here representing the Chamber of Commerce?
I know that I did mention Gail Marchica. She was going to be here. I don't know why she's not, but I know that she's aware that this is happening tonight.
Okay, well, welcome. Frankie, thank you for joining us.
Frankie Rowland, Director of Community Relations with Down to Earth Markets. We manage Ossining's Farmers Market. And I am here to follow up on our operating plan for 2016, proposing that the market remain outside throughout the entire year. That would be from January 2nd through December, the last Saturday before Christmas. I believe the operating plan in general has remained the same year over year. What we did have, we were inside last year, 2015, this year earlier. In 2014, 2013, we were outside where we are currently. And at that point, we had a different village manager in place. And the only topic of discussion, really, my knowledge tonight, is to talk about the prioritization of snow clearance in the case that it might be necessary on a market day. We do have an agreement within the operating plan that the Friday prior to a market day, which they're on Saturdays, we would talk with the village manager if necessary regarding potential snowfall. If it was anticipated it was going to be 2 inches or more, or for some reason a dangerous situation regarding ice, then we would make a joint decision not to have a market that Saturday. So the prioritization of snow clearance is not something that would be very frequent. But in that case, it's a matter of asking, after obviously the main roads are cleared and when lots start to be cleared, if it would be possible to prioritize the cleaning of lot number 6. I believe the lot where the market takes place.
This is beyond my depth of knowledge about the snow management, aside from saying quite clearly that the safe passage on our roadways is obviously the top priority for all of the community members as well as our first responders to be able to be out and about. But if
Paul
Fraioli, village engineer, and Ed would comment more specifically. Not sure what we're asking to be different this year functionally than it has
Well, I don't think you were there last. Were you there last winter? Okay, so this winter would necessitate snow removal if it wasn't still snowing, and I guess you didn't deem it something to be canceled with the manager's office. So I'm sure he would call and discuss that. Snow removal in that area is a combined effort of the Department of Public Works and the Recreation Department. So as this was being discussed just now, I was just whispering in Chris's ear because he and I haven't talked about it because this is both very new to us, new to the both of us. That said, sure we can work on trying to facilitate that, but the orders of priority, I think, as stated already, are the roads, and we try to do concurrently the fire department ramps as best as we can when we do the roads. And then we get to the lots, typically after the snow has stopped, when the roads, because the roads are continuously cleared during a snow event. And that's pretty much the order of preference, and we would try to accommodate the market, obviously, to maintain that event as best as we could. So I'm sure, we'll cooperate and do whatever we can, but recognizing that I'd like to be part of those conversations with the manager and yourself when you determine if you're going to run the market the following Saturday.
Well, I think that there definitely has to be a coordination, and I think that if we're expecting any kind of inclement weather before the market, I mean, we should be able to make a decision the day before, just to see, first of all, what kind of resources we have and and the intensity of any storm. I think that we will make the decision again as late as possible. But again, as I have replied to your initial request via email, I think that we need to have addressed the roads first. Obviously, that's the first priority, and then unfortunately, this becomes more of a secondary task that the forces will be addressing the process.
Is it reasonable for Saturdays if the market is taking place when? Obviously, we identified that the roadways and access to the firehouses is obviously a safety priority, but that this would be the first parking lot among the lots that are addressed by DPW, and also then I believe, as you were acknowledging that Soy, the superintendent of recreation, it's your staff, I believe, that does the sidewalks in that area. Is that correct?
And Market Square.
And Market Square
Yeah.
itself,
Mhm.
right?
Correct.
So is it reasonable to ask that Saturdays if the market is taking place, that once the safety issues have been addressed, that the particular area around Market Square would get the first attention among our parking lots and the areas that the recreation team is going to be working on sidewalks? Is that a reasonable request?
Well, I would certainly want to discuss with our park foreman and get a clearer, picture of if that would be something certainly to review, consider.
It's going to be a moving target. It's going to be dependent on the storm. And I think that's a good idea to have at least one discussion with the manager's office every Friday before, regardless of what the predicted weather is.
So, just for my clarification, are you requesting a weekly discussion, or are you requesting a discussion if there's impending weather?
Well, through the winter months, I think it may be a good idea to contact the manager's office every Friday through the winter season and discuss the opening or not of the farmer's market.
If there are storms, obviously, but I'm anticipating a brown winter this year, so we're going to be okay.
Well, I know that we have taken precautions in the budget, just in case we have a little more snow again this
Absolutely.
season.
Yeah,
I had taken a liberty of preparing a package, and a proposed resolution would go on your next legislative session, and you'll have the opportunity prior to passing that resolution the evening to have further discussions about that might be appropriate. And usually we do a draft letter agreement to the chamber, and in the past it's referenced what the priority is, and we indicated also that we usually make a barrel with sand available in the event that the surfaces should melt and freeze, and so we accommodate that as well. But if we need further language to be drafted into the letter agreement with the chamber, we can certainly do that based upon the discussion. But the letter agreement doesn't get drafted and executed, actually, until after you take formal action at a legislative session. So you'll have the opportunity over the next 2 weeks to get that information and convey that information to both the chamber and Ms. Rowland as well.
I will also, you mentioned the chamber again. I am a little disappointed that they're not here since they're actually the applicants. Seems a little inappropriate. Okay.
Yeah, I do have a question, because last year it was an inside market, but the year before it was an outside market.
For 2 years.
For 2 years. So can we go back to the records and see what was arranged in the case of snow and see if we can modify?
Yes, that's what it is in
Yeah.
there now, and
So-
that's in the package I had actually sent to the manager. It simply says that the priority will be just as was described tonight, with the roads being the priority, and the 2 o'clock call to determine whether it's closed or open, and also the provision of the barrel with the sand. But if you need further clarification put in it as to whether the parks foreman is amenable to putting this at the top of the list of sidewalks and parks to be shoveled, and whether we can put this parking lot number 6 up at the top of the list as the first parking lot. If you wanted that language to be added, you could find out further
I'm not sure
information.
about that portion to be making a priority, because we do have the community center, which at that point will be, to me, will be more like a priority than anything else. And those will be secondary. So. But
Yeah, I wouldn't really want us designated in a resolution,
Exactly.
because we have
With that in-
fire headquarters, police lot.
That's
Yeah.
fine. We certainly
Doesn't
realize
go
that
in
there
the
are other
resolution.
considerations that may not have been fleshed out tonight, and we trust the judgment of your departments recognizing what's been requested and the valuable contribution that the market makes, as well as all the other considerations that haven't been voiced tonight. So thank you.
And if I may just add something to this, obviously we don't control the weather, we don't know what will happen. The farmers market participants tend to be fairly hardy souls, and we do ask our farmers and food makers to bring shovels as well. So, this is simply a matter of trying to understand what our expectations should be. I'm not privy to the details that you work with.
Although I'm not, hi.
Hi.
I have two questions. Number one, the topic here says Chamber of Commerce and Down-to-Earth Markets, but actually, is the only topic that we're discussing the snow removal piece of this? Is that the topic?
And whether you're in agreement to be in support of the Chamber's proposal to do a year-round farmers market at Market Square.
Okay. Thank you. The actual question to you then is, are you in charge of all of the activity of the people that are at the farmers market? So, for example, there is food being served at the farmers market. Are you or the chamber, and I'm sorry that they're not here, so I'm not sure you can answer, responsible for all the required permits for serving food?
Down to Earth Markets takes full responsibility for ensuring that all participants in the market have all required licenses and certificates via New York State Ag and Markets, which is the governing party for all farmers markets in the state. So that is our responsibility, and in turn we ensure that the farmers and food makers have those.
And that includes the requirement by the county as well. So food being served.
Farmers markets in New York State are governed by Ag and Markets on a state level and not by a county level.
Okay. Thank you.
We have a copy of the last time we had the year-round market.
Yes, we do have the one that was board approved. Actually, this is 2000 and, I would imagine.
No.
2014. So where there is a part of the agreement was that there will be special accommodations made for the cancellation and maintenance of the site. In case of inclement weather, we can certainly put that. But I think that, again, as Paul mentioned before, I think that, I will be a little cautious putting anything more specific than that, because, we need to make sure that in the roads, it's a first priority. Much as, from my perspective, the village administration supports farmers market, we can really commit the resources, something that, in that particular case, becomes a little secondary public safety.
I think we're all in agreement.
Absolutely.
The language reads, the village will utilize its regular snow removal scheduling for parking lot number 6 throughout the term of the year-round farmers market. Thus, the village cannot guarantee such snow removal prior to a market day.
Well, there's certainly no guarantee, but we've had the discussion tonight, and everybody understands.
Yeah, it's
what
just
the
to make
priorities are.
it part of the consciousness in terms of. Other questions?
Well, is the language the way it is in that contract, that, are you asking for more, or you want to make sure that's in the contract, or what?
I guess what we're asking for is, obviously we don't want to by any means endanger safety, and we understand the requirements for that. But that beyond that, when it gets past, the safety of streets and fire ramps and things like that, when lots start being cleared, that be considered one of the primary lots to be cleared.
I think that I think the feeling of the board is that we would want the farmers market to happen, and I think the intention of everybody here, to the extent that we can't risk public safety,
obviously,
for this. So I don't think you're going to get more than what was in the last contract.
Okay.
But I think you've certainly got the support of everybody here to make our best effort to make sure that the lot is cleared and things are done. I'm glad that I know you're a hardy bunch, because I've been out there in January to your farmers market, and happy to be there. And like, people have complained about people's working conditions there, which I thought was kind of interesting. But that's anecdotal. But I think we're going to do our best effort to clear that lot. And make sure that we can have the market if we can provide the resources to do that. I don't think you're going to get better than that.
And that's really all I can ask. I appreciate the time to have the conversation.
Thank
Sure.
you.
And I know that our department heads are cognizant of it, and this conversation would have reinforced that. And also, it's Christopher Soy's first year with us, or first full winter in this role. And certainly his first time in this conversation. So. There are a number of factors that we may not be aware of, and I realize that they'll be thinking about the whole village and keeping this in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last item on tonight's work session agenda is we had gotten a request to extend the cabaret license by the owner of Karma Lounge. Her name is Gloria Villanova, I believe. I'm sorry, I don't think I have your last name correct. But I had forwarded the request to the board a couple of weeks ago, and we had also gotten some feedback from the police department, and as well as if the village clerk weighed in on that. But Claudia's here to address the board also, and so.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Claudia Villeda. I'm here in representation of Karma Lounge, located at 175 Main Street. The reason that I'm here tonight is because I understand the cabaret license only allow me to have live entertainment to 1 a.m. because Marianne just told me a few months ago. And I'm here because I would like to ask for a permit. I'm sorry for my English. Most of you guys know that.
We understand you perfectly fine. You're fine.
You're fine.
What I was? Oh, that I would like to have. I would like to ask for the permit to be open or have a live entertainment a little bit later, at 1 a.m. That's kind of. We talk about this with Abraham Zambrano, right?
Yes.
And you brought me here because he says it was the best movement.
Well, yeah, what I had requested her to is to submit a request, which the board will then discuss during a work session. I know that, again, this is something that the village has in the past not extended the cabaret license beyond 1 a.m. As in years past. I know the police department was waiting on that too. I don't know if Captain Craven. That you don't have the ability to compete with other communities and other places that would potentially be open for the same amount of hours. And I think you talk about a cultural element to this where there are people that just stay up later. They stay up until the early morning hours, and they want a place to go and they want a place to be at. So I'm not sure I'm comfortable with 3 a.m. I think I'd be open to doing something until maybe 2 a.m. and perhaps let you do it till the end of the year, and let's see what that looks like. I don't want to hold back anybody who has a legitimate business where people are being entertained. I think that's part of commercial development. That's a good thing. So I don't want to hold back a legitimate business and where the patrons are behaving appropriately and enjoying themselves and enjoying the benefits of a good commercial business in the village. That's my thoughts on that.
Steve Quesada, do you want to comment or ask questions?
Yeah, Lori Lee. Current 1 a.m. cabaret license that the standard that we have passed in the past, that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Is it Sunday still to 1 a.m.? I don't think so.
What
Sure.
this particular license permits, but we generally, when we get the requests in, we generally look at the number of calls to the area, the time the calls have come in, and we try to tailor the license conditions to the particular property location and its historical aspects. So I believe this one is at 1 a.m. on the weekends, and I think that includes Sunday as well.
Now, since I've been on the board, I don't think we have ever done a cabaret license to 2 a.m., 3 a.m., as far as I know. That said, you obtained cabaret license a couple months back, maybe about 2 months ago.
Yes.
What is that to say that we said let's do it to 2 o'clock? What does that mean? Goes for the whole year, or just at the end of the year, and then
It
we
would be
start
for the
again on-
remainder of this year's license. It would be an amendment to the current cabaret license and their annual license. So they would need to reapply for that after January 1st. You would have the opportunity in the next ensuing months to determine in this particular location its effect.
This question is no, not yet, Captain. Sorry. Have we pulled a list of any reports of any incidents on this particular place for the past 6 months, whatever?
We have, but quite frankly, I mean, although we could look at it historically, the reality of it is we're talking about something we don't have documentation on. Next following 2 hours, and we can only go by our past experience with other nations or just common sense. Short answer from the police is, are we concerned? Yes. Handle it? Yeah, we think.
My last question, it goes back to what the captain said, but I believe what John mentioned as well. We say yes for 2 a.m. the remainder of the year. Next year, we can look back to the department, reassess the situation, and see where we stand. Either we keep it as a 2 a.m. or we go back to 1 a.m.
Yes,
That's
because
something that we can.
in the meantime, prior to the end of the year, the establishment will need to apply for next year's permit. So you'll have that information available fresh to determine whether you wanted it to go forward. You could use this as a pilot sorts moving forward.
Waiting for whatever, I mean, this is a board decision, obviously, but the section 100-17 does specifically say 3 o'clock in the morning is up, that's the latest that the board can permit cabaret to be open. So it's prohibited to be open from 3 a.m. to 11:59 a.m. But again, I believe that's within the scope. Claudia has come to the board because it is allowed on the village code to be open till 3 o'clock in the morning.
How many establishments in the village have a 3 a.m. license?
None.
And how many have 2 a.m.?
None.
So this would be the first one. And in other Hudson Valley towns in the area, how many? Do you know?
I did, at the mayor's request, late this afternoon, I did some research in the Terrytown Code and also looked at Peekskill, because those are 2 communities that have nightlife that includes cabaret-type entertainment. So, interestingly enough, Peekskill does not have cabaret license, so we're not really sure how they permit and what their restrictions are. They do have very strict noise provisions that talk about the effect of on the commercial districts on the residential districts, but their hours of operations in terms of the noise are related specifically as it affects the residential districts. So I have another call in to City Hall in Peekskill to see if I can find out what mechanism they use to double check the noise, and also to see if in fact they have a cabaret license in some other guise. Terrytown, they actually issue cabaret privileges between the hours, they're prohibited to exercise cabaret privileges between the hours of 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. That being said, if officials have determined that there's noise complaints and issues related to the cabaret, they can shut down the cabaret starting at 2 a.m. So it looks like if there are problems in the area, 2 a.m. would be the maximum that they would allow their cabaret. But the law, much like ours, says 3, theirs says 4.
Their definition of cabaret is also pretty narrow.
Yes, it is defined very differently. I sent the code out. It's to you. Their definitions are in section 111, and it says any room, place, space in which any musical entertainment, singing, dancing, or other form of entertainment is permitted in connection with the restaurant business or the business of directly or indirectly selling to the public food or drink. So they also talk about the exception for drinking places which provide incidental music entertainment by coin-operated jukebox or mechanical device not requiring continuous supervision, and wherein dancing is prohibited. And it says, or it does not include that which there's a single instrument, musical instrument, playing the instrument between the hours of 6 p.m. to midnight for the specific purpose of background music for the benefit of patrons seating at tables.
So their cabaret is just for the entertainment with regard to restaurant businesses or the business of directly or indirectly selling to the public food or drink.
Well, I thought it was particularly interesting because you could have, in Tarrytown, you could have somebody strumming a guitar sitting on a stool singing people while they're eating dinner, and that's not a cabaret license required up until midnight.
That is
Up
correct.
until midnight, though. Okay.
As background music, yes.
Right. Okay. The action to be taken would have to be by the board by resolution in order to make any change to the cabaret license. Is that correct? We do not have a village board meeting next week because it is Thanksgiving Eve, so the next time that we would be able to consider this resolution would be in 2 weeks, which would be the December 2nd meeting, correct? Yes, John?
Well, I mean, you know, if we all decided we wanted to do this, we could go back into the legislative session and we could pass it right now. I mean, there's no reason
As new business of the, based upon this discussion, you could go back into.
we're not limited here,
If you-
you know, legislatively. I mean, Mary Ann, am I correct? So, I mean, I mean, if everybody thinks they should be open till 2 a.m., we should just let.
Well, I'm not sure that
that's what we
everybody
said.
thinks that we should be open till 2 a.m.
I'm just.
or 3 a.m.
I'm just, I'm in favor of this, and if we don't have consensus here, then fine, we have to push it off. But I'd like to see it happen. So that's just my opinion.
We tend to be pretty deferential to the police department on issues of this because they're the ones who are going to be addressing the concerns. Yes, sir?
We'll say this, we have the ability to empirically measure noise. We have an existing village ordinance. We have worked with people in the past and helped them meet that requirement. Like us to, we that would be.
And what would that look like?
Well, we have a instrument that measures sound, decibels. Running whatever it is, and we let them know.
It's been some time since I was out at night drinking past 1, 2, 3 a.m. Not saying it never happened, but not in recent years. Are there other concerns that the police department has other than noise when cabaret licenses might be extended past 1 a.m.? Could you please elaborate on that?
Huh?
Could you please elaborate on what other concerns you might have?
Now, fond of saying at ESPN, no one gets in trouble in front of a library at noon. Always at 3 o'clock in the morning in front of a bar. That's for a reason. There are issues and certain calls that we or people in.
That was really vague, yeah.
It's difficult for us, Britt, but I think we expect to see some issues. We could certainly, if the mechanism exists, are experiencing it. Right now, we've got a good benchmark. 1 o'clock on now. Chose to give a cabaret license for a couple of months. Absolutely empirically measure if there's been a change. Time period.
The suggestion is that we want to allow for this experimental time, then we shouldn't hesitate. Otherwise, we're just not going to have very many weeks to use as a benchmark.
Yeah, I have another question. If this is the first one, does that mean that once you set the first one, you're setting a precedent for other establishments to then come and request the same cabaret license?
Definitely.
And can you say no when they ask for it?
Yeah, I think as I started off my conversation before, we treat each cabaret license as an individual, very fact-specific situation, and we have limited them in the past based upon the incident reports. We always ask for the incident reports when we review the cabaret licenses. So there is a very good chance if you were using this as a pilot for this cabaret license, you would have clear empirical evidence about this cabaret in this location, but it wouldn't necessarily equate apples to apples to every other cabaret license throughout the
Well,
village.
it couldn't, because you couldn't know what any of those cabarets would be like till 2 or 3, since it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Each one would then have to argue that they too should be a pilot. Is that correct?
They would have to, yes.
And they would have a good case once one does it.
Well, they would only have a good case if they could produce the documentation that, I'm not aware of what the docket reports look like for this
Right.
location, but they're easily called up, so you can tell. You're having problems with the cabaret license to one. I would think that it wouldn't make as much sense to offer a pilot to an establishment who's having trouble at 1 o'clock, to offer them something to 2 o'clock.
And so, just to be clear, have you gotten many requests for parties or something at 2 in the morning, or that you're requesting this?
Since
I mean-
since we start, we can notice that we lose a lot of business because people expect that we have live entertainment, live music until later, and we check our books and we're trying to figure out what's going on, and we see the food is good, people come to the restaurant, but the problem is late at night. They come to eat, they want to dance, but so when the music is stopped, the band has to leave because it's 1 o'clock already. They don't want to come back, so they prefer to go to White Plains, that were just the near entertainment places, and so that's what we're requesting later hours.
Captain, can I ask you, we've gone through how long have you had the license?
For how long?
Yes, it was for...
Since we opened, we can say a year and a half.
If this had not been a question and they had simply been asking for a renewal in the new year for the 1 a.m., based on the history that the police department has with visits, would you have had any cause for concern of renewing at the 1 a.m. timeframe?
That in front of me.
Okay.
The only thing I can tell you, though, is have in front of me, and this might speak to what I'm talking about. In October here, midnight and 2 o'clock in the morning, we had 3. And 4 o'clock in the morning, 150. Cut it in half. After 4 o'clock, 4 to 6, we had steady decline in calls. Now, if we found these cabaret sending them, increase that across the board, that'd be a problem. Measure, because we have data.
So the question, I guess, for the board is, we can anticipate that the longer that the cabaret license is granted for, then the more people will stay and frequent the business, which is good for the local business. At the same time, they're probably going to continue drinking alcohol, which is bad for public safety. Is it not enough of a... Are we prepared to potentially have some additional calls to the police department, which could potentially create hazardous conditions generally for the community if there's more people who are heavily intoxicated because they've been drinking for an hour longer? It's a really short time frame to consider it in.
Well, but the cabaret piece is just about the entertainment, right?
But what Claudia is saying is people are leaving, the music stops.
Well, yeah.
So they're no
So
longer
they're leaving-
drinking for an hour.
Well, but, people who are, if the music ends at 1 o'clock, there's still people there drinking. So, yeah, I see your point. But I think we have a unique opportunity here to measure this, as Captain talked about. And, we have a business that I would like to see succeed. And, I don't think we lose anything by giving this a month and a half.
Do my colleagues on the board agree with that?
Marianne, how many cabaret licenses do we have in the village of Ossining? Just an idea. We have, is it 5? Is it 10? Is it?
No, we have probably less than 5.
Yeah, less than 5.
Yeah, I would have to believe that of the incidents that the captain is talking about, how many did you say? You mentioned there were, what?
300 and something.
300 and something incidences between...
356.
Right.
half of that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but many of those incidents could be at bars or it could be at, I mean, you know, that's not all you know, cabaret activity, you know. I mean, I don't know. I feel like this is worth giving it a shot. I really do. I don't think we lose anything here by looking at this. And I think we want to be competitive. You know, why should people take their business to White Plains? You know, I mean, you know, I'm asking for another hour here, and I think it'll go a long way towards this board being supportive of businesses. I mean, there's 25,000 people live here in Ossining. You know, we're not even a village. You know, and we need to think about things a little bit differently. And I understand the concerns of public safety, but let's take this opportunity to take a look. I just think we're not going to have this opportunity again because the next time they're going to come and ask for a license for a year. So I just think this is a very unique circumstance that we have here. We should look at.
I may.
Please.
Yes and no, John. The reason why I say yes and no is because we are in a unique position where we're in the month of November and December. That's what the most holiday activity and most activity happens on the weekends. Not sure even if we say let's do it until the end of the year, that's going to reflect the real numbers through the whole length of the whole year itself.
I think it's even a better test because of that.
Yes, and
I mean, listen.
I don't know. I mean, I'm a little hesitant to do this because I don't want to create, even if it's 4 more licenses that will come in front of us next year, saying, look, you already did this already for 2 o'clock. I want this for 2 o'clock as well. You know, I'm not sure what the ratio will be and how will that affect safety on. I do agree that we need to support our local businesses. I get it. I know that. And this is something that we have done. We just passed a resolution in regards to that. How do we have a unique businesses here? Great business, great food, great environment itself. So to me, it's a tough decision to make. I know when you came back this year to renew the license, you originally asked for 2 o'clock. You said, no, we're going to give 1 o'clock. So it's tough for me right now. I'm not sure. I guess we don't have the numbers that itself on particular businesses at this point, Captain.
Have the ability to measure it. Have it in front of me.
Yeah,
Right.
I know. I mean, we can always table this until next Tuesday, and we can definitely do a special work session, legislative session at that time as well. Have to.
Like I said, you know, the clock is running here, right?
Trustee Quesada, you're right, we do actually, we're meeting to discuss the budget next Monday, so that would be a time that we were all together. If we wanted to, but what would be the purpose of that? Are we seeking to get some numbers, some additional numbers from the police department? Are we seeking to get information about other municipalities to compare to? We have some information from Tarrytown. We might be able to get some information from another municipality like Mount Kisco, which perhaps will help us make a better informed decision. Sure.
Worcester's probably similar, yeah.
As well as the history here and with our police department.
We can do it on the first.
We'll do it, yeah.
Wait, we'll do it first. Yeah,
Either way.
Yeah, we'll do it first,
Yeah.
because if Claudia needs to come, then that would be approved. 6 o'clock? Claudia, are you available to join us 6 o'clock on Monday at Village Hall, so we can further discuss it? 16 Croton Avenue,
I will
correct.
be happy to be there.
And thank you for coming tonight. You came to probably the longest meeting that's taken place in this room all year, because
And unfortunately, I was the last one. I think.
our work sessions tend to run long. This is like a bonus public hearing, legislative session, work session, and you are very last on the list. So thank you very much for your patience. And I also want to thank you for working so hard to make your business a success in downtown Ossining. For anybody who doesn't know what business we're talking about, it's Karma Lounge. It's authentic Guatemalan food. Claudia could not be more welcoming. Your staff is very welcoming, and I know you've worked very hard to attract community members who are native Spanish speakers, native English speakers. You've transformed your menu to be more accessible, and your staff is just really does a great job at making all of us feel welcome. So thank you very much, regardless of how late your cabaret is open. I'm not going to be there at 1 or 2 a.m., but I will be there for lunch regularly.
Thank you very much for the free advertisement. Thank you, everyone, for the time.
And so, meanwhile, we will gather some more information from specifics about your property and the police department's visits there in recent months since the cabaret license has been in effect, as well as learn a little bit more about some of the other communities and what their cabaret procedures are. It's always a good learning experience for us to see how we can be providing an environment for businesses to succeed and taking a tip from other communities where they are doing a great job at that. So thank you for bringing us this opportunity.
Thank you very much for your time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I have nothing else on the agenda for this.
No?
Positive, actually, but.
Not
I
for
do
the
ask-
public meeting,
right,
but-
For the public, but I do ask that the board consider going into executive session for legal advice and discuss a real property matter.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
On the board. With that, I will say thank you very much for joining us for, oh, we'd have to vote first? All right. Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, with that, I will say thank you very much for joining us for a very lengthy meeting. We got a lot of things addressed, and I will remind you that next week is Thanksgiving. I hope that everyone is enjoying a wonderful holiday with friends and family and food made with love. And meanwhile, keep in mind all of the opportunities in the community to contribute to great causes. I know I'm going to be at Landmark Diner sometime next Tuesday, and there are many other wonderful organizations in Ossining that are helping community members make sure that we all have a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. So we will see you next time right back here in the Birdsall-Fagan Police Court Facility on Spring Street on December 2nd, and we will be discussing the final budget for 2016. Very much. Good night.
Thanks.